Emma Carter woke with her lips resting against a man's throat, one bare knee trapped between his legs, and no memory of entering the room. Morning sunlight spilled across black silk sheets twisted around their bodies, revealing the open collar of Lucian Moretti's shirt, the missing button beside her hand, and the faint red mark beneath his jaw. Her employer, the 57-year-old Mafia boss whose private floor every servant had been forbidden to enter, was asleep beneath her, one powerful arm resting loosely around her waist. Emma's simple white nightgown had risen above her knees, her hair covered his pillow, and her lips felt tender enough to make her stomach drop. She pulled away so sharply that Lucian's eyes opened. He did not look surprised to find the new maid in his bed. He looked as though he had spent the entire night waiting for this moment. "How did I get here?" she whispered. "You walked in," he answered. Emma stared at his open shirt. "Why is that button missing?" Lucian's gaze moved slowly to her mouth. "Because you would not let go of me." Heat and terror rushed through her together, as a broken image flashed behind her eyes, his hand tightening at her waist, her fingers in his collar, his mouth moving against hers, then disappeared before she could understand it. "Did you kiss me?" she asked. Lucian remained silent for one dangerous second. "You kissed me first." Emma's hand flew to her lips. "And you kissed me back?" His jaw tightened. "Long enough to realize you were not awake." She looked at the ruined bed, his unfastened shirt, and the way their bodies had been tangled together. "How far did it go?" Lucian sat up slowly, his gray eyes never leaving hers. "Farther than it should have. Not as far as you fear." "That is not an answer." "No," he said quietly. "But before I tell you everything, I need you to explain why you came into my room crying and begged me not to put your suitcase outside." Emma went completely still, because 2 days earlier, her own brother had left that suitcase on the pavement and locked the only home she had ever known. It had been raining that evening, not heavily enough for anyone passing by to feel sorry for her, but steadily enough to soak through the cardboard box containing her father's books. Emma had returned from a 12-hour hotel shift carrying discounted groceries, and found the navy suitcase standing upright beside the front steps. 2 boxes sat beside it. One contained clothes, the other held the photographs, chipped coffee mug, and old wool scarf she had not realized her brother considered hers rather than part of the family home. A black garbage bag had been tied around her winter coat. The porch light was off. Emma had stood in the drizzle for several seconds, trying to convince herself that Daniel and his wife were clearing a closet. Then she saw the folded note taped to the suitcase handle. "Emma, please don't make this harder than it needs to be. Rachel needs the room for the baby. You knew this arrangement wasn't permanent. We packed everything carefully. Daniel." She read it twice. The groceries slipped lower against her hip. Milk pressed against bread. A jar of pasta sauce knocked softly against 2 cans of soup. The key she had carried for 11 years still entered the lock, but it no longer turned. She knocked. No one answered. She rang the bell and heard movement inside. The television lowering, Rachel's quick footsteps, then silence. Emma took out her phone and called Daniel. He let it ring until voicemail. She called again. This time he answered without speaking. "Open the door," Emma said. "Please don't make a scene." His voice was low, which meant Rachel was near him. "I'm standing in the rain." "There's cash in the front pocket of the suitcase. It should cover a motel for a few nights." Emma stared through the narrow window beside the door. The hallway light was on. She could see the corner of the framed photograph she had bought Daniel and Rachel for their anniversary. "A motel?" "Rachel is 7 months pregnant. She needs peace. You two have been arguing for weeks." She counted how many slices of bread I ate. "That's not what this is about. She told your friends I was an adult woman refusing to leave her brother's house. She didn't mention I paid the mortgage for 2 years when you were unemployed. You helped the family. I paid the electricity last Tuesday. And I'm grateful. You changed the lock while I was at work." Daniel exhaled. "Dad left the house to me." The sentence hurt because it was true, and because he had waited until now to use it. Their father had believed a son should inherit the house. Emma had believed family would make the legal detail irrelevant. After their father died, Daniel lost his job, and Emma took extra shifts. She covered the mortgage, groceries, property taxes, and the physical therapy Daniel needed after a construction accident. When Rachel moved in, Emma surrendered the larger bedroom without complaint. When they married, she paid for the cake. When Rachel became pregnant, Emma bought the first crib. "I never said the house was mine," Emma whispered. "I thought I was." Daniel was silent. That silence ended something 6 years of sacrifice had kept alive. "You can't live with us forever," he finally said. "I wasn't asking for forever. I was saving a deposit." Rachel found the envelope. Emma closed her eyes. The money had been hidden behind an old photograph in her dresser, $400 saved in $10 and $20 bills after every payday. "Where is it?" "We used part of it for the hospital deductible. I put the rest in your suitcase." "You used my deposit." "The baby is family. What am I?" No answer came. Emma heard Rachel say something in the background. Daniel lowered his voice further. "Dad would not want us fighting. Dad would not have left my suitcase outside." "You don't know that." The words were probably meant to end the conversation. They did. Emma removed the house key from her ring and placed it under the doormat. "You're right," she said. "I don't." She ended the call before he could hear her voice break. The cash in the suitcase pocket totaled $180. Her bank account held $63. Payday was 9 days away. The least expensive motel near the hotel cost $90 per night before taxes. Emma stood beneath the porch awning and called 3 women she knew well enough to ask for a couch. One had moved in with her boyfriend's parents. One had 2 children and a studio apartment. The third, Nina Patel, answered on the first ring and heard the truth before Emma managed to hide it. "Send me your location," Nina said. "I'm coming. I have boxes. Then I'll bring my cousin's van. I don't need rescuing." "Fine. I'm coming to aggressively accompany you." 40 minutes later, Nina pulled up in a rusted white van with a dented side door. She did not hug Emma on the pavement or say Daniel would regret it. She simply picked up the box containing their father's books and said, "The bottoms are wet. We need plastic bags." That practical kindness almost made Emma cry harder than sympathy would have. Nina lived with her parents, 2 brothers, 1 sister-in-law, and 3 nieces. There was no couch. They stored Emma's boxes in the van and drove to an all-night diner where Nina ordered fries, tea, and a slice of chocolate pie Emma did not touch. "I may have a job," Nina said after Emma explained her finances. "At the hotel?" "Not through the hotel. Through the domestic staffing agency where my aunt works." Emma shook her head immediately. "I'm already cleaning rooms 12 hours a day." "This is live-in. Private room, meals, uniform, immediate pay." Emma stopped shaking her head. "Why is it available immediately?" Nina looked at her tea. "The owner is difficult." "Difficult like rude?" "Difficult like Lucian Moretti." Emma knew the name. Everyone in Thessaly did, though few people said it loudly. Moretti Development owned 3 luxury hotels, half the warehouses along the river, and a private security company whose employees looked less like guards and more like soldiers. Newspapers called Lucian a businessman. People who worked night shifts called him something else. "The Mafia boss?" Emma asked. "Allegedly. That word is doing a lot of work. My aunt says the housekeeper is decent. Staff are paid on time. No one touches the maids. No one enters staff rooms without permission. The work is hard, but the rules are clear." Emma stared at the suitcase beside their booth. "How long before I could start?" "Tomorrow morning." "Do they throw employees' belongings onto the street?" "No." Emma looked at the untouched pie, then at the rain crawling down the diner window. "Then I've already lived with worse people." By 9 the next morning, Emma stood before iron gates taller than her brother's house. Beyond them, a long drive curved through bare winter trees toward a stone mansion overlooking the river. Cameras followed the agency car as it approached. 2 armed men inspected Nina's aunt's identification before allowing them through. Emma kept both hands around the suitcase handle. She had not slept. After the diner, she had spent 4 hours in Nina's van outside a 24-hour laundromat because the agency required clean clothes and a background check before arrival. She had showered at the hotel employee gym before resigning from her full-time position. Her manager had offered to keep her for weekend shifts, and Emma had accepted because she refused to let one unfamiliar mansion become her only source of survival. Teresa Romano met them inside the service entrance. She was 64, broad-shouldered, silver-haired, and dressed in black severe enough to resemble mourning. She read Emma's file without smiling. "You have hotel experience." "6 years. You left this morning. I'm keeping weekend shifts." Teresa looked up. "The work here is full-time. The agency said my days off would be Saturday afternoon through Sunday evening. You intend to spend them cleaning other people's rooms?" "Until I can afford not to." Teresa studied her for a long moment. "You were given little notice to move." Emma glanced at the suitcase. "Yes. Were you evicted?" "Not legally." Teresa did not ask again. She showed Emma the kitchens, laundry rooms, service corridors, staff dining area, supply closets, and the small private bedroom on the second floor of the east wing. The room held a single bed, dresser, narrow wardrobe, desk, and window overlooking the river. To Emma, it looked like a palace. "This key is yours," Teresa said. "I have an emergency master. I use it only for fire, medical danger, or when the occupant requests entry. Mr. Moretti has no copy. He owns the house. He owns the door. Privacy belongs to the person behind it." Emma's grip tightened around the key. "Thank you." Teresa nodded toward the suitcase. "Unpack before lunch." Wrinkled uniforms irritate the laundry manager. Emma opened the case after Teresa left, removed 2 uniforms, underwear, and her toiletries, then closed it again. She placed it upright beside the wardrobe. Unpacking felt like making a promise the room had not made to her. Her first glimpse of Lucian came 2 hours later. She was polishing the brass rail beside the main staircase when conversation stopped in the hall below. Men in dark suits entered first. Lucian came behind them, carrying no briefcase and speaking so quietly that everyone leaned toward him. He was older than the photographs Nina had shown her, but far more imposing. Silver marked his hair at the temples and threaded through the neatly trimmed stubble along his jaw. His face carried lines carved by age rather than softened by it. He wore a charcoal suit without a tie, and there was nothing hurried in the way he crossed the hall. 57 did not make him frail. It made him look like a man who had survived long enough to stop proving anything. His gaze traveled over the staircase and settled on Emma. She lowered her cloth and stepped aside. "New?" he asked Teresa. "Emma Carter, the agency replacement." Lucian looked at Emma's face, then at the suitcase-shaped bruise darkening her wrist from carrying it through the rain. "How long is the replacement expected to last?" he asked. Emma could not tell whether he was speaking to Teresa or to her. "As long as the job does," she answered. One of the men beside him glanced at her in warning. Lucian's expression did not change. That was not the question. "It is the only answer I have." His gray eyes remained on hers for 1 second longer than comfort allowed. Then he walked away. Teresa waited until the men disappeared before saying, "Most employees call him Sir." "Did I lose the room?" Emma asked. Teresa's mouth moved almost enough to become a smile. "No." Emma worked until nearly midnight. The mansion hosted a private dinner for 12 men who spoke in low voices and left armed. She carried plates, polished glasses, replaced towels, and learned which floorboards creaked. Lucian's private bedroom required evening turn-down service only when Teresa assigned it. That first night, Teresa took Emma upstairs and showed her the routine. Close the curtains, replace the water, turn back the bed, collect the dry cleaning bag, check the fireplace screen, and leave. "Never open the locked cabinet," Teresa said. "Never move the weapon beside the bed. Never remain if Mr. Moretti enters." Does he dislike conversation? He dislikes people pretending conversation is the reason they entered his bedroom. Emma understood. By the end of the second day, her feet burned inside shoes with soles worn thin enough to feel every seam in the floor. At 10 that night, she delivered a tray of untouched food from Lucian's study back to the kitchen. The cook cursed softly. "Third meal today." "He sent it back?" Emma asked. "He forgot it existed." The soup had formed a skin. The chicken was cold. Emma thought about leaving it. Then she remembered Daniel taking pain medication on an empty stomach after his accident, and her father refusing dinner during the final months of his illness. She reheated the soup, cut the chicken into smaller portions, added bread, and carried the tray upstairs. The guard outside Lucian's study blocked her. He did not request anything. His body did. Go downstairs. The study door opened behind him. Lucian stood inside with his sleeves rolled to his forearms and reading glasses in one hand. What does my body want? He asked. Emma held up the tray. Apparently nothing. Which is why I brought half a portion instead of the third full dinner your cook will throw away. The guard stared at her. Lucian looked at the bowl. I am working. The soup does not require conversation. You are very certain for someone who has been here 2 days. Hunger works the same in expensive houses. Something shifted behind his eyes. He stepped aside. Emma placed the tray on a side table. His study smelled of leather, cedar, and smoke from a fireplace burned low. Maps and architectural drawings covered one wall. On another stood shelves of books too used to be decoration. Anything else? He asked. Yes. She pointed to the napkin. The medication beside your hand says to take it with food. His gaze dropped to the bottle he had probably forgotten she could see. You read labels in your employer's study? I read labels while picking up empty glasses. And give medical orders? Only when the patient is making the kitchen cook the same chicken 3 times. He should have dismissed her. Instead, he sat, lifted the spoon, and tasted the soup. Emma left before he could decide whether to be offended. That night, stress finally collected its payment. Emma locked her room, hooked the small silver bell she had carried since adolescence over the door handle, and placed a chair beneath it. The bell had belonged to her father's shop. During the worst period after his death, Emma sometimes woke standing in the hallway, turning locks or searching cupboards without knowing why. A doctor called it adult sleepwalking aggravated by stress and sleep deprivation. The episodes became rare after she established strict routines. She had gone 18 months without one. She told herself the bell was only a habit. At 1:43 a.m., Emma entered deep sleep. At 2:17, she sat up without waking. Her eyes opened. Her mind remained trapped between the locked door of Daniel's house and the service corridor she had memorized that afternoon. She moved the chair. The bell rang once, softly enough to become part of her dream. She unlocked the door, stepped into the hallway barefoot, and followed the route she had repeated during turn-down service. Up the service staircase, across the silent gallery, past the painting of a dark-haired woman in a red dress, to the private floor where guards were stationed at night. The guard at the stair landing straightened. Miss Carter? Emma looked at him. Her eyes were open. Mr. Moretti's water, she murmured. The guard glanced at her empty hands. Go back downstairs. Emma continued walking. He moved to stop her, then hesitated because she was a woman in a white nightgown, clearly unarmed, and because Lucian's bedroom door opened before he made a decision. Lucian stood in the doorway wearing black trousers and an open-collared black shirt. He had not gone to bed. What is it? He asked. Emma passed the guard as if he were not there. She entered the bedroom, crossed to the bedside table, and straightened a glass that was already straight. Lucian watched her smooth one corner of the blanket, adjust a pillow, and touch the closed curtains. Emma, she did not turn. He stepped closer. Look at me. She looked. Her expression was wrong, not frightened, bold, or embarrassed. Empty was not quite the word. She looked as though she were seeing him through another room. Do you know where you are? He asked. Her mouth moved. I worked. Where are you? I paid everything. Lucian's gaze sharpened. He looked toward the guard. Call Teresa. Quietly. Emma moved to the bed and sat on the edge. She rubbed her bare foot against the rug as though searching for something. They put it outside, she whispered. What did they put outside? My suitcase. Lucian lowered himself to one knee in front of her, careful not to touch. Emma, you are in my bedroom. You need to wake up. Her eyes filled with tears without recognition. I did everything they asked. Teresa arrived in a robe with her silver hair loose around her shoulders. One look at Emma told her more than explanations would have. Sleepwalking? Lucian asked. Teresa nodded, likely. Miss Carter, come with me. She offered her hand. Emma stared through it. Teresa touched her wrist gently. Emma recoiled and grabbed the nearest stable thing, Lucian's shirt. Her fingers twisted into the fabric at his chest. Don't put it outside. No one is moving your suitcase, Lucian said. Come now. Teresa tried to guide her up. Emma's grip tightened. A button snapped loose and struck the floor. Lucian caught her elbow when she nearly slid from the bed. Emma turned toward him. For one strange moment, her focus seemed to return. Her palm lifted to his face. Her thumb moved over the silver in his beard. Lucian went still. Emma? She leaned forward and pressed her mouth to his. The kiss was not delicate. It carried the blind urgency of someone reaching for the only door that had not closed. Lucian's shock lasted less than a second. Then, 6 weeks of loneliness he had not yet shared with her. Years of refusing closeness, and the immediate warmth of her mouth overruled discipline. His hand closed at her waist. He kissed her back. Emma's fingers slid into his collar, pulling him nearer. His mouth deepened against hers. Her breath caught. The sound struck him like cold water. He broke the kiss but did not release her immediately. Her eyes were open, yet they did not hold him. Tell me my name, he said. Emma touched his lower lip as though the question had come from far away. Please stay. My name. She could not answer. Where are you? No response. Lucian removed his hand from her waist as if the skin beneath it had burned him. No. Emma tried to follow his mouth. He turned his face away. Not while you cannot choose me. Teresa stood in the doorway, not intruding, not pretending she had seen nothing. Lucian looked at her. Can we move her? We can guide her if she will come. Forcing her may make her fight us or fall. Teresa approached again. Emma, your room is ready. Emma shook her head and held Lucian's shirt with both hands. Don't make me leave. The words were so raw that even Teresa stopped. Lucian looked down at the woman clinging to him. She cannot remain here. She can, if someone stays and the door remains open. She will likely settle into deeper sleep soon. I will sit in the adjoining room. Lucian's jaw worked. And in the morning? In the morning, she may remember nothing. Emma had already curled onto the bed, still holding his shirt. Lucian attempted to free the fabric from her fingers. She made a small wounded sound and tightened her grip. Teresa watched him. You can cut the shirt. He could have. Instead, Lucian sat on the edge of the bed until Emma's breathing deepened. Teresa brought an extra blanket and placed it between them. Lucian remained fully dressed. For the next hour, he read reports with one hand, while Emma held the other side of his shirt. At some point, exhaustion overcame him. He lay on the far edge of the mattress with the blanket between them. During the night, Emma moved across it, rested her cheek against his throat, and tucked one knee between his legs. Lucian woke once with her body pressed to his, and every old refusal inside him tested. He placed an arm loosely around her waist only to keep her from rolling off the edge. He stared at the ceiling until dawn, remembering the kiss he should never have answered. Emma's scream did not come when she woke. It came several seconds later, after she recognized him and saw the ruined bed. Now, sitting across from him in the morning light, she clutched the sheet to her chest, while Lucian told her the rest in the order he had promised. He did not soften his part. He admitted he had kissed her back, admitted his hand had been at her waist, admitted he had wanted more before realizing she could not name him. Teresa entered and confirmed every detail, including the fact that she had remained in the adjoining sitting room until 5 that morning. Emma listened with one hand pressed over her mouth. So we didn't... She could not finish. No, Lucian said. Your nightgown is the one you wore from your room. No one changed you. No one undressed you. Nothing happened beyond what I described. Relief came first. Then humiliation so hot it made her eyes sting. You should have said that when I woke. You asked whether anything happened. Something did. You let me think. For less than 2 minutes. It was long enough. His expression hardened, not with anger at her, but with something aimed inward. I had no right to answer your kiss. I will not protect myself by pretending otherwise. Emma looked at Teresa. Did the guards see me? One guard saw you enter the floor. Mr. Moretti dismissed him before sunrise. Emma's face drained. Because he saw me. Because he told 2 other men that you had come to offer Mr. Moretti something the rest of the staff could not. Lucian's voice became very quiet. An unconscious woman is vulnerable, not entertainment. Emma looked down at the missing button lying near her knee. I need to leave. You may, Lucian said immediately. The lack of resistance startled her. Your full month salary will be paid. Teresa can arrange a transfer to another property or a hotel room for 2 weeks. A physician who specializes in parasomnias can see you today if you agree. You're not firing me? No. After I walked into your bedroom and tore your shirt? You were asleep. I kissed you. You were asleep. You kissed me back. Something dark moved through his gaze. That failure was mine, not yours. Teresa left them alone after placing a robe within Emma's reach. Lucian moved to the window and turned his back while Emma put it on. There is a fourth option, he said. You remain here. We create a written safety procedure. Teresa is called first during any episode. Your room receives an alarm that alerts only her. No recordings are kept without your approval. I do not enter your room unless your life is in immediate danger. You do not enter this floor after 10 at night unless Teresa assigns the work while you are awake. Emma tied the robe. And everyone who saw me will be instructed to remain silent. By fear? If necessary. That would make me the woman the boss secretly protects, because she was in his bed. Lucian turned. What would you prefer? It was the first time a man in that house had asked rather than decided. Emma sat on the edge of the bed, staring at her bare feet. She thought of the suitcase outside Daniel's door. She thought of the key Teresa had given her, the weekend hotel shifts, and the $180 that could not buy another room. She also thought of Lucian stopping when she could not say his name. I want to speak to the staff myself, she said. Then you will. And I want the footage. There is hallway footage only, none inside the bedroom. I want to see it before deciding whether it is deleted. Agreed. And last night does not give you permission to touch me again. Lucian's gaze settled on her lips before returning to her eyes. Last night is the reason I will never touch you again without hearing you say yes. Emma stayed. Not because she trusted him, not yet. She stayed because she refused to let a condition she had managed for years become another person's excuse to remove her from a room. That afternoon, Teresa assembled the household staff. Emma stood before 30 people wearing a fresh uniform while whispers died around her. Lucian remained at the back of the room, not beside her and not in front. Emma's hands were cold, but she kept them still. I have a sleep disorder, she said. Stress and exhaustion triggered an episode last night. I entered a private room while unconscious. I did not enter it to seduce anyone, improve my position, or entertain the staff. Anyone who finds an unconscious woman amusing should explain why. No one spoke. A young kitchen maid looked ashamed. The laundry supervisor stared at the floor. Emma continued. My medical information is private. I will not apologize for a condition I did not choose, but I will follow a safety plan so it does not endanger anyone. She stepped back. Lucian's voice came from behind the staff. You heard her. That was all. He did not threaten death, dismiss half the household, or declare her under his protection. He allowed her words to remain the strongest ones in the room. The hallway footage showed Emma walking with her eyes open, responding vaguely to the guard, and entering Lucian's room. She asked that it be stored in an encrypted medical file rather than deleted, because part of her still feared waking one day and having no evidence beyond another person's version. Lucian gave the encryption key to her. He kept no copy. For the next week, he avoided being alone with her. Emma should have felt relieved. Instead, every time he entered a room, she became conscious of her mouth. She remembered nothing of the kiss, yet her body reacted to fragments it could not recover. The black button appeared in the laundry 3 days later. Emma found it in the pocket of Lucian's ruined shirt while checking garments before they went to the tailor. She carried it to his study and placed it beside his hand. This belongs to you. Lucian looked at the button but did not touch it. Keep it. Why? Until you decide whether that night is something you want forgotten. It already is forgotten. Not by both of us. The answer followed her downstairs. She placed the button in the top drawer beside her bed, where it became the first thing in the room that did not fit neatly into survival. The mansion settled into routine. Emma woke at 6, checked the door alarm Teresa had installed, dressed, and worked. Lucian left early and returned late. She learned that he disliked lilies, preferred coffee almost bitter enough to be punishment, and sent untouched dinners back whenever he was worried. He learned that she hummed while polishing silver. counted stairs under her breath when anxious, and folded every spare blanket into exact thirds. One evening, Emma carried a smaller bowl of soup to his study. "Half a portion?" Lucian asked. "You finished it last time. You monitor my eating." The kitchen monitors returned dishes. "I am the only one willing to insult you about them." He set aside his pen. "Sit. Maids do not eat in the study." "Then argue from the chair." Emma remained standing. "I am not hungry." "That is a lie." "How would you know?" "Because you gave your staff dinner to the gardener whose wife is in the hospital." Emma looked away. Lucian pushed the bread plate toward the empty chair. "Sit. Is that in order?" "It is bread," she sat. They ate in silence at first. Then Lucian asked about the hotel. Emma described guests who stole towels, couples who argued through locked bathroom doors, and one elderly woman who tipped her $5 every Sunday because Emma arranged the photographs on her nightstand before cleaning. Lucian listened with an attention that made ordinary details feel dangerous. "Why keep the weekend job?" he asked. "Because this room belongs to you. Your staff room belongs to you while you are employed." "Exactly." His eyes narrowed slightly. "You expect employment to be withdrawn." "I expect everything to be withdrawable." The next morning, Teresa told Emma the lock on her staff room had been replaced. The new key had no master override except a fire mechanism requiring 2 people to activate it. Emma found Lucian near the front hall. "You changed my lock." "Yes." "Without asking?" "You asked whether the room was truly yours." "That is not the same as asking for construction. No one enters without you. Now, including you, especially me." Emma should have objected. Instead, she returned upstairs, opened her suitcase, and placed her father's wool scarf in the dresser. She unpacked nothing else. Lucian noticed. He did not mention it. 2 weeks later, Emma discovered that the temporary staff payroll was wrong. The deductions were small: $12 from one maid, $18 from another, $25 from a gardener, but repeated every pay period. She stayed after midnight comparing paper timesheets with bank deposits. Lucian found her asleep over the kitchen table, cheek resting beside a column of numbers. He did not touch her. He called Teresa, who woke her. The next morning, Emma presented the discrepancies to the estate manager. The manager laughed and said she did not understand service fees. Lucian entered midway through the explanation. Emma watched the manager's face change. "Continue," Lucian said. Emma showed him 6 months of altered entries. Within an hour, the payroll supervisor confessed to keeping the difference. Lucian dismissed him and ordered every worker repaid with interest. Then he called Emma into his study. "You are wasted polishing railings." "The railings disagree. Teresa needs assistance with household accounts. The work pays more." Emma's first reaction was gratitude. Her second was suspicion. "Because I found the theft?" "Because you found what 3 men with business degrees ignored." "And if I say no to you personally?" Lucian went still. "The job remains." "The room?" "Remains." "The raise?" "Remains. Put that in writing." He did. Emma accepted. The new role brought her closer to Lucian's legitimate businesses and farther from the anonymity of housekeeping. She still wore a uniform in the mornings, but afternoons were spent reviewing vendor bills, maintenance contracts, and estate purchases in a small office beside Teresa's. Lucian began asking her questions during breakfast. She challenged unnecessary expenses and pointed out that the mansion ordered 12 brands of mineral water because no one had asked which one he preferred. "I prefer coffee," he said. "That explains the dehydration." He almost smiled. Their attraction grew inside moments too ordinary to defend against. Emma found him one night attempting to make coffee because the kitchen staff had gone home. He measured grounds like explosives. She took the spoon from him. "You own 3 hotels and cannot use a coffee press. Ownership and operation are separate. Disciplines. That is what incompetent men say before hiring women to fix things." He watched her hands as she pressed the grounds. "You speak differently when you forget to be afraid." Emma poured 2 cups. "You behave differently when no one is watching." "Someone is watching." His gaze held hers. She spilled neither cup, though her fingers wanted to shake. "Daniel called 3 times that week. Emma ignored the first two. On the third, she answered because guilt had outlasted anger. Rachel's hospital deductible is higher than expected, he said without asking how she was. I sent money last month. You used to contribute every payday. I also used to live there. The baby didn't throw you out. Emma closed her eyes. Do not use a child who has not been born to make me responsible for the adults who lock the door. Dad would be ashamed. The familiar weapon found the old wound. You don't get to speak for him only when you need my paycheck. So that's it? You have a rich employer now and family means nothing. Emma's breath caught. You put my suitcase on the pavement. Rachel needed the room. Then ask the room to pay your bill. She ended the call and made it to the linen closet before crying. Her grief was not only for the house. It was for the version of Daniel she had defended to coworkers, friends, and herself. She pressed a towel to her face so no one would hear. Outside the locked door, footsteps stopped. Emma held her breath. No knock came. A minute later, the footsteps moved away. When she opened the door, a glass of water and a clean handkerchief rested on the floor. Lucian never mentioned them. At breakfast the next morning, he discussed a plumbing invoice as though he had heard nothing. Emma understood then that privacy could be a kindness rather than abandonment. The first public humiliation came at a winter charity dinner held in Lucian's ballroom. Emma was working beside Teresa, checking staff schedules and guest rooms. Bianca Valenti arrived in white fur and diamonds, a woman near 40 whose confidence came from never having been asked to justify her place in a room. She knew Lucian well enough to kiss his cheek. Emma knew it should not matter. It did. Bianca removed her wrap and dropped it into Emma's arms without looking. Be careful. It costs more than your annual salary. Emma held it out again. Then you should probably keep it. Bianca looked at her properly. You are the new maid. I work here? I heard you have difficulty remembering which bedrooms belong to you. Conversations nearby thinned. Heat rose from Emma's chest to her face. Lucian turned from the guests beside him. His first instinct was visible in the stillness of his shoulders. Emma met his gaze and gave the smallest shake of her head. Wait. Lucian waited. Emma returned the wrap to Bianca. I entered one room while medically unconscious, she said. You entered this conversation fully awake. Only one of us should be embarrassed. A man nearby coughed to hide a laugh. Bianca's expression hardened. Lucian, are you allowing staff to speak to guests this way? I am allowing Emma to finish. He looked at Emma, not Bianca. Are you finished? Yes. Lucian then faced Bianca. Your car is waiting. You are throwing me out for a maid? No. I'm asking you to leave because you used a woman's medical vulnerability to entertain a room. Bianca's eyes narrowed. People are talking about you. People always talk about me. Not like this. Her gaze flicked toward Emma. Be careful what you confuse with loyalty. She left without the wrap. Emma carried it to the cloakroom herself. Later, she found Lucian alone near the darkened ballroom windows. Thank you for waiting, she said. It was difficult. I noticed. My instinct is to remove threats. I am not a territory you need to secure. No. His gaze lowered to her mouth. You are becoming a different kind of problem. Emma's pulse stumbled. That sounds like a dismissal. It is a confession. She looked away first. The next weeks changed them in small increments. Lucian began taking dinner in the breakfast room rather than his study. Emma sometimes joined Teresa there, and conversations widened. He asked about her father's repair shop, where Emma had learned bookkeeping by writing invoices at 14. She learned Lucian spoke 3 languages, read history for pleasure, and hated orchestral music because his father had played it during punishments. He was never soft in public. Men left his study pale. Cars arrived after midnight and departed before dawn. Yet he remembered that Emma disliked cinnamon and coffee, and that Teresa's knees hurt on cold mornings. He ordered the service elevator repaired because Emma had carried laundry up 3 flights during a breakdown, then increased the footwear allowance for every employee after noticing the split sole of her shoe. He never handed Emma expensive shoes. That mattered more than the gift would have. One evening, she climbed a ladder in the library to dust the upper shelves. The leg shifted against the rug. Lucian crossed the room before she fell and caught her around the waist. Her body struck his chest. His hands were firm, warm, and immediately dangerous to her memory. "I have you," he said. "That is what people say before dropping something. I have never dropped anything valuable. I am an employee, not an antique." He lowered her until her feet reached the floor, then released her so quickly she nearly missed the contact. Emma looked up. "You let go very fast for a man everyone calls controlling. Not everyone asked to be released." The air changed. Emma became aware of the space between them, of the silver at his temples, of the strength age had not taken from him, and of the mouth she had kissed without remembering. "Did I ask that night?" she whispered. Lucian's eyes darkened. "Not in words you could understand. Was it a good kiss?" The question escaped before caution could stop it. Lucian went still. "Do not ask me that unless you are prepared for an honest answer." Emma's face warmed. "I should finish the shelves." "Yes." Neither moved for several seconds. Emma saw the photograph of Lucian's accident by chance. It had fallen from a leather folder in his study. A young man in a hospital bed, his face bruised, one leg in traction, a woman seated beside him holding his hand. Emma picked it up before she realized what it was. Lucian entered and saw it in her fingers. "I'm sorry," she said. It fell. He took the photograph but did not return it to the folder. "I was 32. Who is she?" "Amelia. We were engaged." Emma tried not to feel the word. "What happened?" Lucian looked at the photograph for a long time. "After the accident, he was told I could never father a child." Emma waited. "Amelia wanted a family," he continued. "She had talked about children since the week we met. I ended the engagement before leaving the hospital." "Did you tell her why?" "No. Why?" "Because she would have tried to convince herself it did not matter." Emma's sympathy collided with anger. "You do not know that. I knew her. You knew what she wanted. That is not the same as knowing what she would choose." His face closed. "She married 2 years later. She has 3 children. That does not make what you did kind." "I did not say it was kind. You decided you were less, and made her live with the decision." Lucian's gaze sharpened. Few people probably spoke to him that way and remained employed. "You believe I should have asked her to surrender motherhood? I believe you should have respected her enough to ask what she was willing to build with you." He looked away. "At 32, leaving felt cleaner. And for 25 years? For 25 years, I have avoided asking any woman to accept a future that ends with me." The loneliness inside the sentence was so well hidden that Emma almost missed it. "A future is more than children," she said softly. "People say that when children remain possible. And men say they are protecting women when they are afraid of being rejected." His eyes returned to hers. Emma's heart beat painfully, but she did not take the words back. "You have become very certain about me," he said. "No. I have become certain that you make choices for people before they can disappoint you." Lucian placed the photograph in a drawer. "And you keep your suitcase packed so no one can ask you to leave first." The accuracy struck hard enough to silence her. That night, Emma opened her bedside drawer and took out the black button. She held it between 2 fingers while remembering his question in the library. "Do not ask unless you are prepared for an honest answer." She was prepared for one thing only, that she no longer wanted her first kiss with Lucian to belong solely to him. It was after midnight when she reached his private floor. This time she wore pajama trousers, a soft sweater, and slippers. Her hair was tied back. She knocked. Lucian opened the door wearing a black shirt buttoned properly to the throat. His gaze moved over her clothes, her focused eyes, and the button in her palm. "Are you awake?" he asked. "Completely. Do you know where you are?" "Outside your bedroom." "Why are you here?" Emma lifted the button. "Ask me your name." Something in his expression broke open and was immediately controlled. "What is my name?" "Lucian Moretti." "Where are you?" "Exactly where I chose to come." "Why?" Her courage nearly failed. She closed her fingers around the button. "Because the first kiss belongs only to you." I want one that belongs to both of us. Lucian stepped closer but did not touch her. Emma. Yes? May I kiss you back this time? Yes. He kissed her slowly at first, giving her every chance to change her mind. Emma had imagined urgency because of the broken button, but the restraint affected her more. His hand settled at the side of her neck. Her fingers touched the open collar of his shirt. When she leaned closer, the kiss deepened. Lucian's control did not disappear. It became visible in every breath he held back. Emma opened the top button of his shirt. His other hand moved to her waist. Heat traveled through her so quickly that she pressed against him without planning to. Lucian made a low sound against her mouth. The sound frightened and thrilled her. He backed her one step toward the bedroom. Emma followed. Then the memory gap from the first night opened inside her like a dark stairwell. Her body stiffened. Stop. Lucian released her before the final consonant left her mouth. He stepped back, hands at his sides, breathing hard. No disappointment sharpened his face. No persuasion followed. Are you all right? He asked. Emma nodded, though tears had gathered unexpectedly. I thought I was. Thinking you were ready does not obligate you to remain ready. You are not angry? At what? I came here. I asked you. And then you asked me to stop. He moved farther from the doorway, giving her a clear path. Both choices belong to you. Emma returned to her room and cried for a reason she could not name. Not fear, not shame. Relief, perhaps. The unfamiliar pain of discovering a boundary could remain standing after someone reached it. The next morning, Lucian discussed vendor contracts without once glancing at her lips. That, more than the kiss, made her want him again. Desire did not disappear after the conscious kiss. It sharpened. Emma felt it when Lucian's hand hovered near her back at crowded events, but waited for permission. Lucian felt it when Emma loosened her hair after work and forgot he was in the room. A younger estate manager named Nathan praised Emma's accounting work and invited her to interview for a permanent position at one of Lucian's hotels. Lucian approved the interview, then spent dinner cutting his food with more force than necessary. Do you dislike Nathan? Emma asked. No. You are holding the knife like he insulted your mother. He is competent. How unfortunate. Lucian looked at her. Do you find him attractive? Is that an employer's question? No. Then ask it as the man who kissed me. His eyes held hers. Do you find him attractive? Emma allowed the silence to stretch. He is 34, polite, and has never frightened an entire ballroom by entering it. Those are not answers. Now you understand how I felt the morning I woke in your bed. Lucian almost laughed. Emma treasured the sound because it was rare and because she had caused it. The balance shifted after an attack at one of Lucian's river properties. Emma did not see the violence. She saw the consequences. Lucian returned after 3 a.m. with blood drying along his collar and a shallow cut beneath his ribs. He refused the doctor waiting downstairs and walked toward his study. Emma stepped from the kitchen carrying tea. You are bleeding. Not significantly. That is what men say before staining furniture. He tried to pass. Emma blocked him. The guards looked horrified. Move, Lucian said. Sit. Emma. If you collapse, I am not strong enough to drag you away from your expensive rug. His mouth tightened. Then he sat in the nearest chair. Teresa brought a medical kit. Lucian allowed Emma to clean the cut, because the doctor had been called to another injured man. His shirt lay open across his chest. Age had not spared his body, but it had made strength more real. Old scars crossed his ribs and shoulder. Emma's hands remained steady until Lucian closed his eyes. Does it hurt? She asked. Yes. The honesty surprised her. Do you trust me? His eyes remained closed. Enough to do this. Close your eyes? Yes. The reversal moved through her. The first night she had been vulnerable without choosing it. Now the man everyone feared consciously placed his unguarded body beneath her hands. She finished the bandage. Lucian opened his eyes and found her close. You should sleep, she said. I do not sleep well. Why? People have tried to kill me in bedrooms. That is inconvenient. Your sympathy is overwhelming. I'm a maid. Emotional comfort costs extra. He smiled, then winced because the movement pulled at his injury. Emma touched his shoulder. Stay here tonight. I'll have Teresa prepare the guest room beside mine. You want me near you? I want you away from stairs. Lucian accepted the room. At dawn, Emma found him asleep with the door open and one hand near an unloaded pistol on the table. She stood in the hallway for several seconds, listening to the quiet proof of his trust. The intimacy they had stopped returned on a calm night, rather than after danger. By then, Emma had accepted Nathan's offer to become assistant operations manager at one of Lucian's hotels. The position included enough salary for an apartment. She signed a lease for a small one-bedroom place near the river, but delayed moving because the previous tenant's contract had not ended. For the first time since Daniel locked the door, Emma possessed somewhere else to go. She unpacked her suitcase completely. Lucian found her folding the empty case beneath the bed. He remained outside the doorway. "You have an apartment," he said. "In 3 weeks. And a position independent of this house. Yes. You will leave." Emma stood and faced him. "I am not staying because I have nowhere else to go anymore." Lucian's expression became unreadable. "Then why are you staying tonight?" Emma crossed the room and extended her hand. "Because I want to." He looked at her hand for so long she almost lowered it. Then he placed his palm against hers. "Are you awake?" he asked. "Completely." "Do you know what you are asking?" "Yes." "Tell me to stop once and I stop." "I know." She led him into the room. Lucian closed the door but did not lock it. He touched her face with the same hand that had once released her the moment she could not name him. This time Emma said his name before he asked. Their first kisses were slow, almost careful, but restraint had been waiting too long. Emma opened his shirt one button at a time, feeling his breath change beneath her fingers. Lucian removed her sweater only after she lifted her arms. When his gaze moved over her, it held desire without turning her into an object being assessed. Emma touched the scars on his ribs, the silver at his chest, the places years had marked without weakening him. "Still certain?" he asked. "Yes." He kissed her again, and the room narrowed to the warmth of his skin, the roughness of his palms, and the steady patience with which he allowed her to set the pace. Clothing fell away gradually, not in a rush, but through a sequence of choices Emma remembered making. Lucian paused whenever her breath caught. Each time she drew him closer. When no barrier remained between them, he rested his forehead against hers, his control visibly strained. "Tell me again," he whispered. "I want you," Emma said, "and I am fully awake." Only then did he move with her. The first joining carried a brief sharpness that made her fingers tighten against his shoulders. Lucian stopped instantly. Emma breathed through the unfamiliar sensation, looked into his gray eyes and nodded. He continued slowly, giving her time to meet him rather than taking her somewhere she had not chosen to go. Their rhythm formed in broken breaths, tangled sheets, and whispered questions answered against each other's mouths. Emma held his gaze until feeling made it impossible. Lucian kept one hand around hers as though even pleasure should not separate choice from touch. When the tension finally broke through them, Emma buried her face against his shoulder and heard him say her name with a tenderness more intimate than hunger. He did not leave afterward. He brought water, wrapped the blanket around her, and lay beside her without assuming sleep granted him anything more. "Do you regret it?" he asked. "Ask me in the morning." Cruel woman. Controlling man. At dawn, Emma opened her eyes in Lucian's arms. For 1 second, the shape of the room resembled the nightmare of their first morning. Then memory returned whole. Every kiss, every pause, every yes. She smiled before he woke. Lucian's eyes opened. "Are you all right?" "I remember everything." Relief softened a face the city believed incapable of it. Emma touched the silver at his temple. "And this time your shirt survived." Their relationship did not become simple after that night. Emma moved into her apartment 3 weeks later, because she needed proof that staying with Lucian would remain a choice. She continued working at his hotel but reported to Nathan, not to Lucian. Some nights she returned to the mansion. Some nights she slept alone. Lucian accepted both without asking for explanations. He visited her apartment only when invited and always knocked, even after she gave him a key for emergencies. Daniel learned of her new job through a mutual acquaintance and arrived at the hotel lobby without warning. Emma saw him standing near reception with a bouquet purchased from a grocery store. For one painful second, she wanted to become the sister who forgave everything because he had finally shown up.
Rachel had the baby, he said.
A girl. Is she healthy? Yes, we named her Caroline. Dad's middle name was Carl. Emma's chest tightened. Daniel offered the flowers. We miss you, do you? Things got out of control. You changed the lock. Rachel was emotional. The pregnancy, you wrote the note. He looked away. I handled it badly. You handled my suitcase. You avoided handling me. I'm apologizing. You're asking for something. Daniel's face changed. Emma knew him too well. The mortgage is behind, he admitted. Rachel cannot return to work yet. Emma looked through the lobby windows at the city she had begun navigating without him. I will buy groceries for the baby once a month, she said. I will not pay the mortgage. I will not move back, and you will never speak to me using Dad's shame again. Family should help. I am helping the child. I am no longer financing the adults who removed me. Daniel's eyes hardened. You think you're better than us because you sleep with a rich man. The words struck, but they no longer controlled the room. No, Emma said. I think I deserve a door no one locks against me. Security approached when Daniel raised his voice. Lucian was not there. Emma did not need him to be. She had Daniel escorted out herself. That evening, she told Lucian what happened. He did not offer to destroy Daniel's finances or buy the house. He asked, Do you want me to do anything? Emma shook her head. Sit with me, he did. 6 weeks after their first chosen night, Emma stood in her apartment bathroom holding a pregnancy test. 2 pink lines appeared before the timer finished. She sat on the closed toilet lid because her knees would not hold her. Happiness did not arrive alone. Fear entered with it. Lucian had believed for 25 years that he could not father a child. Emma knew he trusted her, but trust tested by impossibility could behave differently. She bought 2 more tests from separate pharmacies. All 3 were positive. She placed them inside a paper bag and drove to the mansion. Lucian was in the library reviewing contracts. One look at Emma's face made him dismiss everyone. What happened? She put the bag on the table. I need you to look before I lose the courage to explain. Lucian removed the tests one by one. He did not speak. The silence grew until Emma's fear filled it. I have not been with anyone else, she said. His head lifted sharply. I did not ask. You believe you cannot. I believe a report written 25 years ago said I could not. He came around the table. How do you feel? Emma stared at him. What? Are you happy? Afraid? Angry? All of them. Lucian knelt in front of her, the same position he had taken the night she sleepwalked into his room. But this time she saw every movement. Then all of them are allowed. You don't think I trapped you? Something wounded passed over his face. I trust you before I trust a document written by a doctor my father selected. Emma began to cry. Lucian held her only after she reached for him. The physician confirmed the pregnancy the next morning. At the first ultrasound, the room darkened and a rapid heartbeat filled the silence. Lucian's hand closed around Emma's. He stared at the small flicker on the screen. That is ours? He asked. And for once, his voice did not sound like the voice of a man who commanded anything. Yes, Emma whispered. He bowed his head over their joined hands. She felt one warm drop fall against her knuckles. Lucian Moretti did not cry where anyone could see. The technician pretended to study the monitor. Emma placed her other hand over his. Hope changed him in ways violence never had. He bought 3 parenting books and hid them inside a file marked River Acquisitions. Emma found them because he left one open to a chapter on fetal development. He asked whether she had eaten, then corrected himself. What would you like to eat? He began attending medical appointments with a notebook, alarming nurses by writing down every instruction. At night, he rested his palm over Emma's still flat stomach and spoke to the baby only when he believed she was asleep. Your mother argues professionally, he murmured once. You will lose. Emma kept her eyes closed and smiled. Happiness made both of them vulnerable enough to become foolish. Lucian had a small room near his bedroom cleared without telling her. Emma discovered paint samples and a folded cream blanket in a drawer. You are building a nursery at 9 weeks? She asked. I am preparing. You are panicking with furniture. Furniture obeys measurements. Babies do not. That is troubling. At 11 weeks, Emma woke at 3:12 a.m. with a dull cramp low in her abdomen. She went to the bathroom and saw blood. For several seconds, her mind refused the meaning. Then she called Lucian's name. He reached her before she could stand. The drive to the hospital blurred into streetlights, his hand around hers, and the pressure of towels Teresa had brought. Emma kept saying, "I didn't do anything." Lucian answered every time, "I know." The doctor performed tests, asked questions, and finally turned the monitor slightly away. There was no heartbeat. The words used were gentle and clinical. Pregnancy loss. Nothing Emma had done had caused it. Sleepwalking had not caused it. Work had not caused it. Intimacy had not caused it. Most early miscarriages happened because a pregnancy could not continue developing normally. Knowing did not reduce the emptiness. Emma stared at the ceiling while tears slid into her hair. Lucian sat beside her, one hand around hers and the other pressed against his mouth. He did not tell her they could try again. He did not say everything happened for a reason. He remained inside the loss with her. At the mansion, Emma slept for 2 days. When she woke, Lucian was not beside her. She found him on the floor of the unfinished nursery with the first ultrasound picture in his hand. The cream blanket lay beside him. He looked older than 57, not weaker, stripped of every defense that age and power had built. Emma sat on the floor without speaking. "For 25 years, he said, staring at the picture, "I believed I could never be a father." His voice fractured. "For 11 weeks, I was one. No one told me how to stop being one." Emma's own grief opened again. She leaned against the wall beside him. "You don't stop. There is no child. There was." Lucian closed his eyes. "I had already imagined teaching them to swim. I imagined complaining when you bought them a horse. I did not buy a horse. You looked at land suitable for one." He gave a broken laugh that became a sob. Emma took his hand. "We loved someone who was here for 11 weeks. We carry that differently now." They sat on the floor until morning. Grief did not pull them apart immediately. Fear did. Lucian began by canceling Emma's hotel shifts for 1 week without asking. She accepted because she was physically exhausted. Then guards appeared outside her apartment. Her medical appointments were scheduled before she confirmed availability. Teresa informed her that Lucian had ordered the staff room near his bedroom prepared because he did not want Emma sleeping alone. Emma confronted him in the study. "Remove the guards." "No, that was not a request. You woke bleeding and drove through the city. You drove. You could have been alone. I have been alone before. Not again." Emma stared at him. "That is not your decision. Your doctor said stress must be reduced. My doctor said I should rest. She did not say you should redesign my life." Lucian stood. "I will not lose you too." The words carried grief, but they also closed around her. "I am not the baby," Emma said softly. "I know. Then stop treating my body like the last thing you can control." He tried. For 3 days, he asked before changing plans. On the 4th, Emma returned to her apartment and found her suitcase, clothes, and personal papers gone. A guard informed her they had been moved to the mansion for her safety after someone attempted to access her medical records. Emma drove to the estate so angry she shook. Her belongings had been placed in a suite in the private wing. The door locked from the inside, but 2 guards stood outside. Lucian was waiting. "Someone bribed a hospital clerk," he said. "Your records are being targeted. So you moved me without permission. I moved your belongings. You moved my life. Until the threat is understood." Emma looked at the room, the expensive bed, river view, fresh flowers, and suitcase standing open because someone else had unpacked it. The sight hurt more than the locked door of Daniel's house. "You respected me when I could not remember my own choices," she said. "Now that I am fully awake, you are making every choice for me. This is protection. My brother said putting my suitcase outside was practical. You put it inside a prettier room and call it protection. Neither of you asked where I wanted it." Lucian's face tightened. "Do not compare me to him. Then do not behave like a richer version of him." "Emma, grief explains your fear. It does not make me your prisoner. If you leave, you may become a target. Then give me the information and let me decide what risk I accept. I cannot. You mean you will not? Lucian stood between her and the door without touching her. For one terrible second, Emma saw the man others feared. Then he moved aside. If you walk out, I will not stop you. That is the first correct thing you have said. Emma packed her suitcase herself. Teresa drove her to Nina's parents' house because returning to the apartment might be unsafe. Lucian did not follow. He sent no flowers, jewelry, or messages through Teresa. The next morning, Emma received an envelope containing the key to her apartment, a full report about the attempted medical record theft, and a signed document transferring control of every security measure around her to her. At the bottom, Lucian had written one sentence. I protected your unconscious choice and violated your conscious one. I knew the difference. Emma did not answer. The investigation into her medical records uncovered something older. The hospital clerk had been bribed by a company connected to Lucian's half-brother Damien. When Lucian's physician compared the recent pregnancy records with the fertility report issued after his accident, dates and laboratory numbers did not match. The original sample identification belonged to another patient. A surgical note claiming permanent damage had been added 3 days after Lucian left the hospital. The doctor who signed it had received a large payment from a trust controlled by Damien's mother. The reason was buried in Lucian's father's will. Controlling ownership of several legitimate companies would eventually pass to Lucian's biological child. If Lucian died without one, Damien's branch inherited the shares. Damien had stolen 25 years, one broken engagement, and every family Lucian had refused to imagine. The discovery did not repair the miscarriage. It made the grief angrier. Damien responded by leaking the hallway footage from Emma's sleepwalking night, cropped, to show her entering Lucian's bedroom in a nightgown. A second clip showed her leaving in the morning with disordered hair. Anonymous accounts called her the sleepwalking maid who seduced an aging billionaire. Her pregnancy and miscarriage records appeared online hours later. Commentators claimed she had invented the pregnancy, used it to secure money, or lost Lucian's heir through carelessness. Reporters gathered outside Nina's parents' house and the hotel. Lucian's security team offered to move her. Emma refused, until they agreed she would choose the location and terms. She decided to speak publicly. Lucian asked where she wanted him. Behind me, she said. Where I can see you if I turn around, but not where people will think you are giving me permission to speak. At the press conference, Emma stood alone at the microphone. Her knees trembled beneath the plain navy dress she had bought with her own salary. Lucian remained several feet behind her, silent. Emma described her sleep disorder, the safeguards she used, and the fact that she had entered Lucian's room without conscious awareness. She admitted the kiss had occurred, and that Lucian had stopped when she could not identify him or the room. She did not describe their later private relationship. My unconscious vulnerability was stolen from a security system and sold as entertainment, she said. My pregnancy loss was stolen from a hospital and turned into accusation. I will not argue with strangers about whether my grief was respectable enough. I will say this. No woman should have to prove she did not deserve humiliation because she was asleep, pregnant, grieving, poor, employed, or in love with a powerful man. A reporter shouted, "Are you still Lucian Moretti's mistress?" Emma looked directly at him. I am Emma Carter. That is the name relevant to my statement. Lucian released evidence of the bribery only after Emma finished. He did not call her his woman, his responsibility, or someone under his protection. He confirmed that she had worked for him, that their later relationship had been consensual, and that she owed him nothing. Damien's conspiracy reached the courts. The bribed physician agreed to testify. Financial crimes surfaced around Damien's companies. Lucian dismantled his half-brother's influence through evidence, frozen assets, and arrests, rather than a long war Emma never wanted to witness. The more difficult work happened privately. Lucian began grief counseling. He delegated business decisions to people he had spent decades refusing to trust. He removed the guards from Emma's building when she asked, and provided security information without controlling how she used it. He restored her hotel position publicly, then removed himself from her reporting structure. He paid none of her rent. He purchased no apartment. He did not use Daniel, Teresa, or Nina to persuade her to return. Months passed. Emma moved into another apartment after the leaked address became unusable. She bought second-hand furniture, hung her father's scarf beside the door, and placed the navy suitcase in the storage closet. She continued therapy for sleepwalking and grief. The episodes did not vanish magically, but they became manageable. She installed an alarm she controlled and gave the emergency code to Nina. Daniel sent a letter apologizing without asking for money. Emma read it twice and placed it in a drawer. She sent birthday gifts to Caroline and met the baby in a park, but she did not return to the house. Boundaries did not erase love. They gave it a shape that no longer consumed her. Lucian wrote once each month. The messages were brief and contained no pressure. I attended the appointment. I moved the gun from the bedroom. I slept 4 hours. I wanted to call you and did not, because missing you is not permission. Emma saved every message and answered none until the 6th month. Then she wrote, I am glad you are sleeping. His reply came 20 minutes later. So am I, nothing more. Lucian's apology arrived in person only after Emma invited him. He stood outside her apartment with empty hands. Silver had spread further through his hair. He looked thinner, but his eyes were clearer. Emma did not ask him inside. I spent 25 years believing a false report had stolen my choice, he said. Then fear made me steal yours. I knew exactly what that felt like, and I still did it. You were grieving. So were you. You did not imprison me. No. I am sorry. I believe you. Hope flickered across his face. Emma continued. Believing you does not mean I am ready to return. I know. Do you? I am learning. He left without touching her. 3 more months passed. Emma watched from a distance as Lucian continued changing when there was no guarantee she would reward him. He trusted Teresa with estate decisions. He allowed Nathan to challenge business plans. He attended therapy even after Damien's conviction removed the immediate threat. He established a fund for women whose medical privacy had been violated, but he placed it under an independent board and did not use Emma's name. He visited the small memorial garden they had created for the lost pregnancy alone, then told Emma only when she asked. One winter night, almost a year after she had first entered his bedroom asleep, Emma drove to the mansion. Teresa opened the door and said nothing when she saw the navy suitcase in the trunk. Emma did not carry it inside. She walked upstairs alone. Lucian opened his bedroom door after the first knock. He wore a black shirt, but every button remained fastened. Neither spoke for several seconds. Are you awake? He finally asked. Completely. Do you know where you are? Yes. Why did you come? Emma looked past him at the room where she had once woken terrified, where she had later chosen him, and where grief had taught them both how easily love could become fear. The first time I came here, I was searching for somewhere no one would throw me out, she said. This time I came because I found a man who finally learned that love means leaving the door unlocked. Lucian's throat moved. Does that mean you are staying? It means I am coming inside. Do not turn one choice into 10. A faint smile touched his mouth. He stepped aside. Emma entered. He did not close the door until she reached back and closed it herself. Their reunion was not frantic. It carried the weight of months spent learning that desire could survive distance without becoming ownership. Lucian kissed her only after she nodded. Emma opened his shirt slowly, remembering every version of the man beneath it. The stranger who stopped, the lover who trusted her, the grieving father who lost himself, and the man who changed without demanding she witness every step. When they came together again, there was sorrow in the tenderness and hope inside the fear. Lucian asked more than once whether she was certain. Emma answered with words each time. In the morning, she woke with her cheek over his heart. I remember everything, she whispered. Lucian opened his eyes. So do I. Emma did not move permanently into the mansion. She kept her apartment and her job. She spent nights with Lucian because she wanted to, not because meals and a room depended on it. 6 months after their reunion, another pregnancy test turned positive. Emma sat on the bathroom floor until Lucian found her. He saw the test and lowered himself beside her. Neither celebrated immediately. Previous grief entered the room before joy could. What do you need? He asked. Not what are you doing? Not what did the doctor say? Not where will you live? What do you need? Emma began to cry. I need you to be afraid with me without turning fear into rules. Lucian took her hand. I can do that. I need to keep working unless my doctor and I decide otherwise. Yes. I need no nursery until I ask. His eyes filled, but he nodded. Yes. And I need you to be happy, even if happiness scares us. Lucian pressed her hand to his mouth. I'm terrified, he said, and I am happy. At the 7-week ultrasound, the technician moved the wand, paused, and adjusted the screen. Emma stopped breathing. Lucian's hand tightened around hers but did not pull her closer without asking. Is something wrong? He said. The technician smiled. No, I'm finding the second heartbeat. Lucian stared. Second. 2 rapid rhythms filled the room. Emma began laughing and crying at once. Lucian looked between the monitor and the technician as though language had failed him. There are 2? Twins, the technician confirmed. Lucian turned to Emma. 2. Apparently neither of them wanted to arrive alone. The pregnancy unfolded in careful weeks rather than one long miracle. Every appointment carried dread until 2 heartbeats filled the room. Emma continued working, reduced her hours when exhaustion demanded it, and refused to become a fragile object inside Lucian's fear. He learned to ask, would help feel helpful today? Instead of issuing instructions. Sometimes Emma said yes, sometimes no. He survived both answers. At 20 weeks, they learned one baby was a girl and the other a boy. Lucian sat in the parked car afterward with both hands on the steering wheel. You are quiet, Emma said. I once believed the best thing I could do for a woman was prevent her from building a family with me. You were wrong. Catastrophically. Emma placed his hand on her stomach. One twin kicked. Lucian's face changed. The second kicked moments later. They are already arguing, he whispered. They are yours. Cruel woman. Controlling man. They prepared the nursery together this time. Emma chose warm cream walls. Lucian assembled one crib incorrectly and refused help for 40 minutes before admitting the instructions were unclear. Teresa photographed him sitting on the floor surrounded by screws. Emma saved the picture. They placed the cream blanket from the first pregnancy inside a small memory box, rather than giving it to either twin. Their lost child did not disappear because new children were coming. Love made room rather than replacing. Labor began during a thunderstorm. Lucian drove too quickly until Emma threatened to deliver in the car if he did not slow down. At the hospital, the feared man who had once remained calm while bleeding nearly argued with a vending machine because it would not return his money. Emma labored for 14 hours. Lucian stayed beside her, wiped her face, held her through contractions, and never told her to be strong. You can hate this, he whispered when she cried. You can hate every second and still want them. Their daughter, Lucia, arrived first, red-faced and furious. Their son, Gabriel, followed 9 minutes later, quieter but equally determined to grip Lucian's finger. When the nurse placed Lucia in Lucian's arms, he stared down at her as if the entire world had become too small to contain what he felt. She is real, he said. Emma, exhausted and laughing through tears, answered, Both of them are. You will have to learn their names. Lucian bent over Emma and pressed his forehead to hers. Thank you sounded inadequate, so he did not say it. I love you, he said instead. I know. You could say it back. I just delivered 2 children. Do not become demanding now. He laughed while crying. The first months were not a perfect painting. Lucia screamed every evening at 7. Gabriel refused bottles from anyone except Lucian, then fell asleep halfway through feeding. Emma's sleepwalking returned briefly during severe exhaustion, but the safety plan belonged to her. One night, Lucian found her standing in the nursery doorway with her eyes open and unfocused. He did not touch her immediately. He spoke her name, asked where she was, and called Teresa as agreed. Emma woke in her own bed the next morning with Lucian sitting in a chair nearby, not lying beside her. What happened? She asked. He told her everything without dramatizing or hiding it. Did I do anything embarrassing? You tried to fold Gabriel's blanket while he was still wearing it. Emma covered her face. He objected loudly. I assume the entire house knows. Only Teresa, me, and a very judgmental infant. She smiled. The condition no longer meant losing her room, job, dignity, or choices. It meant a plan, honesty, and people who knew the difference between protection and possession. 3 years later, Emma returned from the hotel one evening and found Lucian asleep in the nursery chair with both children sprawled across him. Lucia's curls covered his shoulder. Gabriel's cheek rested against his chest. A picture book lay open on the floor. Silver now dominated Lucian's hair, but fatherhood had softened nothing about his strength. It had simply given that strength somewhere gentle to go. Emma leaned against the doorway. Lucia opened one eye. "Mama," she whispered. "Papa fell asleep first." A historic event. Lucian opened his eyes. "I was ambushed," Gabriel yawned. "Again, story." "Your father has read the same story 4 times, Emma said. 5, Lucian corrected. "They are unreasonable negotiators." Emma crossed the room and kissed his forehead. Her wedding ring caught the lamplight. They had married in a small ceremony after the twins' first birthday, not because scandal, debt, pregnancy, or survival required it.